Yo, what is happening? All you badass mofos out there in the Black Army Radio realm. Welcome back. Or if you're new here, welcome to the movement, baby. We're pretty glad to have you locked in today. Before we get into it, real quick, if this show has ever made you think, laugh, or feel some kind of way, do us a solid. Hit that 5-star rating right now. It only takes about 2 seconds, and it means everything to us. Helps us out a lot. Make sure you're following the show so you never miss a drop. And that episode you've been meaning to share, send it. Send it to a friend. All right. Now that we've attempted to pay a few of the bills, let's get into it. How we doing, Joel?
Not too bad. Ready for some good news. I mean, some good news to come out of everything in this country. It looks like old Trumpy is doing back to a ceasefire, but it seems like, depending on the reporting, there never really was a ceasefire, depending on who you're talking to. But yeah. So
It's a lot of
I don't
shooting
know.
for a ceasefire.
Yep, exactly.
All right. So what are we going to talk about today? So before we even do that, I just want to give a shout out to the energy economy out there and give it. I figured maybe we give a daily update on what gas prices are, Joel. Like, why not?
Ooh, I like it.
So right now, regular gasoline is averaging $4.02 a gallon. That is about the fifth highest in recorded American history. Diesel is sitting at $5.50 a gallon. And that actually, so I do have to make a correction. My last episode, I said it was the highest in recorded history. It's not. The highest in recorded history? The highest in recorded history was actually in 2022, and that was $5.81 a gallon in 2022. But we are like second, I think, right now. And then for gas, the highest ever recorded was also in 2022, and that was $5 a gallon. So we're $1 off for gas to hit the record, and we're about 30 cents off for diesel. However, if you live in the beautiful, amazing, ultra progressive states of California or Washington, gasoline is sitting at $6.55 a gallon in Washington, and in California it's $7.50 a gallon. And so, woo! Oh, I'm sorry, that's diesel. Those are diesel prices, not gasoline prices. Those are diesel prices. And those are records for those states. So for the state of Washington and the state of California, way to go. Way to go. Dude, California is $7.50 a gallon. Dude, how are you driving a diesel
Yeah.
fucking truck in California at all? Wow.
Well, it's got to be a modern diesel because all the um
Oh yeah.
EPA shit they have. So
Oh yeah.
not a
It's
fun
definitely
one,
not straight
anyways.
piped, chipped.
Yeah, tuned. Yeah, deleted.
Super
Yep.
redneck from the trailer hood diesel.
Right.
That's definitely not what dudes are running around. I mean, I know a lot of dudes running those, but they're
Yeah, me
they're
too.
they're gonna be buying little freaking 1983 Nissan Sentras or something. Like that's what people are
Right.
work, dude. Woo! I was gonna read Trump's tweet on the ceasefire because he was actually on, but I'm not going to because it's just whatever. It's just it's basically he pretty much said the ceasefire's extended. I think tomorrow was the last day, and he was on a podcast today where he was like, "We're gonna be dropping our big beautiful bombs again very shortly. Iran doesn't want to talk. They're not negotiating. We're gonna start this war off. We're gonna start shooting again here pretty quick." And then almost a couple hours after he said that on an interview, it was an interview with some mainstream media outlet. He got on and he was like, he fucking tweeted or X'd or truthed or whatever the hell he does that he had extended the deadline because Iran doesn't have anybody alive who can like negotiate or something. But Iran's
Yeah,
totally
they
saying,
they don't have enough. He said they didn't have enough like organization in their government, and then it was also on a big push of Pakistan to be like, hey, why don't we let them like get their shit together? So if they're actually going to negotiate, it's with like the leaders who are currently there.
yeah,
And
exactly.
it's kind of interesting how much of a push Pakistan has in this whole dynamic as well.
I'll tell you, good on
Um,
Pakistan, man.
very-
What a mediator. You know what I mean? Like to just like
right.
kind of program and like be like, we need to figure this out. It's like a mom
Right.
going out and grabbing your son and the boy he's fighting in the freaking playground and by their ears and bringing you into the kitchen and being like, tell me what's going on. And so
Yeah.
who's start? And so but Iran is again, dude. Iran doesn't seem to have any willingness to negotiate here. And I mean, why would they, dude? That's like we've talked about, dude. They're in the pole position, man. Like they are. Like
Right.
they don't need to negotiate. They really don't. It's like it's us that needs to negotiate. Like they're actually in a pretty good spot if they want to keep fighting the war. And I'm actually kind of surprised that they're negotiating or willing to. But they definitely, dude, they literally came out and they're like, Jared Kushner, Witkoff, fuck both of you. We have nothing to say to you. Like they totally consider Trump's envoy, with their primary negotiators, which is Jared Witkoff and or Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, right? Because they're both homies of Netanyahu and they're huge Israeli supporters, and the
Right.
Israelis know it. And they're like, we're not even unless it's JD Vance, they're only willing to talk to JD Vance. So if they're even still willing to do that, who knows? Moving on from that. So here's a few things we're going to talk about. I got a whole bunch of shit here. We're not going to be able to get into all of it, but I'll give you a real quick breakdown so you know what to look forward to here. So there is a report that Trump had some kind of a break, some kind of a I don't want to call it a fight, but some kind of a confrontation regarding nuclear codes over the weekend, which that's like nuclear codes. Seems like a weird fight to get into over that. So that we'll go
Right.
into that kind of first. And the second one, and honestly, this might take up the whole freaking podcast. I don't know. So my buddy Zach Laporte, he sent me some messages today talking about I don't know a whole lot about this outfit. I have to be honest with you. I've been doing a lot of research the last few days trying to spin myself up on it. Palantir Technologies. I actually think Joel knows more about it than I do. But that's going to be the second thing we're going to get into, and that might be the whole podcast. Honestly, we're going to break down they did a manifesto that they had come out, and they're like the core nervous system of the entire United States military and intelligence infrastructure. And they're kind of like primarily like an AI platform. And so we'll see if we get into anything else once we start talking about them, but they're wildly important and wildly powerful. Number three, Republican. How do Republic? Hey Joel, how do Republicans usually feel about insider trading? When you hear people talk about insider trading, Republicans are
Oh,
usually
they hate
right, probably like Nancy Pelosi.
they hate it.
Yeah.
They call out anytime they see a Democrat does it, but it's pretty rampant right now.
Oh, dude. So that's number three, and the financial markets have seen a series of record-breaking and highly controversial trades since this war began. And somebody in the Trump family or in the Trump realm is making probably just him and everybody
Yeah.
associated with dude, it's like these trades are insane, man. Once you start looking into them, we're going to look into them. It's three. So, four, if we get into it, the military is currently enforcing a naval blockade on the Iranian ports near the Strait of Hormuz. We did fire on an Iranian cargo ship apparently and put it dead in the water. And then we launched some assault teams. They were part of the Marine um, expeditionary unit, which I'm assuming was probably a force recon element that went in there and fast roped and took control of this ship. And Iran was really pissed and supposedly lost a bunch of drones into American ships. And we have not heard, right? We haven't heard what the outcomes of those drones and stuff are. Five, and this is an interesting, I just wanted to do a comparison between the Russian Ukraine war and the Israeli Lebanon war, because Russia and Ukraine have been fighting for years and years. And we've given Ukraine just unbelievable amounts of money and everything else. And Israel and Lebanon have only been fighting for like a month and a half. And this is amazing, but Israel has basically taken almost like as much or more land in Lebanon, like for the size of the state, as Russia has in Ukraine in years and years of fighting, like already. And all these people with their Ukrainian flags everywhere and everything else, Ukraine. Don't see a whole lot of people out there with Lebanon flags. That's what Israel's
Right.
doing to them. Is that not a sovereign state that has a Christian king? Has a Christian fucking king, and it's a sovereign state. And it's like you hear American Christians definitely about that one. Yeah, go ahead.
and they go to war with Iran and start bombing Yemen, on because what is it? The Hezbollah is out of Yemen, correct?
No, out of Yemen, you have the Houthis.
Houthis switched them up, but yeah, the Houthis right in the beginning of the war, the Houthis weren't even doing anything, and they were still bombing Yemen, and then I think it's like this goes back to the Iraqi war when they were talking. Netanyahu had a list of 6 countries that were, terrorists or problems to Israel, and Yemen was one of them. Syria, Iraq, Iran. Yeah, it's kind of funny how
Yeah.
they say they're going to war with Iran and then they start bombing Yemen as well.
Yeah, Scott Horton talks about it in his book Enough, which is a fantastic libertarian book basically on the global war on terrorism. And it talks about like 6 or 7 countries that the United States wants to topple, right? With Israel, like throughout the next 2 or 3 decades, which started in 9/11. And Iran was literally on the very last state on the list was Iran. And so that's a pretty interesting document to read because we have bombed every single one of those other countries. There's like Yemen, Iraq, Syria. Um, I think Lebanon's on that list. Uh,
Yeah, Lebanon.
and there's some others. Anyway, Iran's the very, very last country that needs to be overthrown is Iran on that list. And so pretty interesting on that. And so let's get into this claim really quick before we get into Palantir, which could be an interesting conversation. So there are widespread, kind of unverified reports alleging that President Trump was blocked from using nuclear codes. Okay. So here's the claim. Former CIA analyst Larry Johnson alleged on the Judging Freedom podcast that during an emergency White House meeting on Saturday, April 18th, President Trump sought to use the nuclear codes as a deterrent against Iran. I don't know what that means. It's like, I don't know if you put in the nuclear codes, is there like an alert that's put out in the world that nuclear codes have been put into a system? Do you know what I'm
Right.
saying? Or is it like, I feel like the
Yeah.
launch would be with the alert, not the nuclear codes,
Yeah.
which kind of makes what Annie Jacobson say about this a little bit more relevant. We'll talk about that in a minute, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know what he would just do with the codes as a deterrent against Iran in and of itself. You know what I mean? Without like some kind of launch or something. But
Or
so the
maybe it was just
confrontation.
Trump.
Now go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Maybe it was just Trump threatening to use the codes, and that's just language that we say for threatening to use nukes. It got probably sounds like it got brought up in a meeting, and one of his top security advisors talked him out of it. And
Yeah.
there's reports of I think his name's Dan Kane or Dean Kane. Am I right?
Yeah. General Dan Kane. He's the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Mhm.
There's reports
Yeah.
that he left that meeting like looking pretty frazzled, head down, like kind of like he saw a ghost. So it's
Yeah.
interesting. But it's also like
Yeah.
Trump just talks
Yep.
shit too. So I don't even know how to like take any of this serious because he just says stuff, and it like doesn't have to be any proof behind it or any facts. He just talks. And so like when I see one of these reports, I wonder the validity of it, how serious it was, if it's true. But it wouldn't surprise me in the smallest sense if it was true, like
Right. Yeah. There was some kind of confrontation. The report claims, like we said, General Dan Kane, we said is the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, pretty serious position, refused the request and stood his ground, quote, leading to a significant blowup, quote. I don't know. That's pretty interesting. Military resistance. Some social media accounts alleged that General Kane stormed out of the meeting and invoked the U.S. Uniform Code of Military Justice, UCMJ, to reject what he viewed as an unlawful order. Now, there's a gal out there named Annie Jacobson, and she wrote a book. She's wrote a lot of books, but she wrote a book out there called Nuclear War. I read this book. It's a fantastic book. I would highly recommend anybody out there to read it, She is wildly intelligent, this girl. And she posted something on X directly about this. And she doesn't seem to agree with this. But at the same time, Trump isn't, he's a very bombastic, very out of the box, very unpredictable dude. You know what I'm saying? Who might have dementia. And so, so it's like,
Right.
I think, I also think that whatever the norm is for like normality in situations like this is probably not what's taking place right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that's so like, even though I really respect Annie Jacobson and her book, you can listen to it on, like Audible or something, it will freak you the fuck out. I promise. Because she did a super duper deep dive investigation. Basically, her entire book is basically like the first hour of like a nuclear scenario. There was a Netflix movie that came out. I don't know if you saw it. It was actually pretty damn good. And I think it was kind of based on her book loosely, even though they didn't give her credit for it. I don't think they might have. But it has a completely different name. And it's basically the same kind of thing. It's just like the first hour of of a nuclear strike. And it starts in like some radar system in Alaska, picks up some inbound like intercontinental ballistic missile, right? They don't know what the fuck it is. They report it to the Pentagon, like they do their thing and then like start running up the chain of command and like building escalation. That's going up the escalation ladder. And then there's like other states that get involved. I want to say like Russia and North Korea or like come up on the scene in this movie and they're doing their own thing and they're trying to figure out and everybody's trying to figure out like where it was launched from and like anyway, I don't know. Really good book. That movie is very similar to her book. And this is what she wrote on X. Quote, this is wrong in every way. The president doesn't access the nuclear codes. He has them on his person at all times on a small card that's nicknamed the biscuit. No single person can get in the way of that. No one. The chairman doesn't stop POTUS from doing anything. He would likely not even be in the same room. In a crisis scenario where nuclear weapons were being considered, the CJCS would almost certainly be on comms communications from inside the National Military Command beneath the Pentagon. So, I wildly respect her opinion for sure. And, but my response, my retort to that would be that is under normal circumstances.
Right.
And we've had Trump is a very abnormal, like if you think about like Biden, Obama, Bush, right? Other Bush, Reagan, Carter, like a lot of these like interchangeable dudes, Clinton, you know what I mean? Like they have different policies and stuff, but they're statesmen. Do you know what I'm saying? Like they're statesmen.
Right.
That's what they fucking are. And Trump is no statesman, bro. He is no statesman. And so I don't know. What do you think about that?
I mean, the way I see it is I don't think it was like this critical like meeting that they're talking about nukes. I think they're having a meeting with the mines. Trump's getting fucking irritated because Iran is making him look like an idiot and said like, I'm fucking sick of this thing. I'm gonna get him to negotiate or I'll just threaten to fucking nuke him. And probably asked
He's already
something about
threatening to.
or said I'll use the yeah, and probably said something about the codes and the general is probably like, dude, fucking relax. And they probably got in an argument. I mean, that's how I see it. And the reality is, I mean, if that guy filed for he said he used something to turn him down, and you had a name for it when you're reading your
Oh,
text.
yeah.
Like,
The refused the request, stormed out of the room, rejected what he viewed as a lawful order through the Universal Code of Military Justice.
so is
Um,
that something that's reported? Like, if it's an unlawful order and that's what you say, like,
you could,
hey,
yeah.
I
So you
refuse this
definitely
order,
have,
is that something?
yeah, you could have. So there's like special agents like NCIS, right? They have the movies, which is like naval intelligence, fucking wow,
Right,
whatever, something. It's an investigative component. Every like the Army has theirs, the Navy has theirs, the Marines have theirs, the Air Force has theirs. They have their own investigative wing, which is like they're kind of like FBI almost. It's like MPs, except special agents.
right,
It's like so if you think about an MP, An MP is like or military police. That's basically like if you see your local police department in a marked rig in a uniform, right? Uniformed in a marked rig. That's like your MPs. Your special agents, which are usually like federal or detectives, right? In a police department, like a detective is plain clothes. Or, like a federal agent is plain clothes. And so like these like NCIS and like all those guys are all like plain clothes detective special agents, and they could totally investigate, you know, something like UCMJ is their bread and butter. So,
Because
yeah.
my thought, if this is real and something like that happened, we'll hear about this, after the midterms or before the midterms in like a leak, uh, like someone leaking it, and if not, it's I don't think it's I think there's some truth to it. I just don't know, like I just don't take Trump seriously. I think he just fucking talks. He's like the annoying dude, and I'm just anything he says isn't true. He just talked about how gas has gone down, groceries have gone down. And it's like, what fucking world do you live in? He's like, the energy sector is killing it. Yeah, because we're the only reason the energy sector is killing it because we're selling fucking barrels at $103. Of course they're killing it because they're making fucking money, dude. Like
You're in
that's
West
the
Texas, you're
only
killing it.
yeah,
Who Trump
and
reminds me
it's
of? He reminds me of the guy at the bar who's your buddy who's like, "Hold me back. I'm gonna start this and then hold
yeah,
me back." So I don't get punched in the mouth by that guy. He's like, "I'm gonna start some shit.
it's
I'm gonna be real loud and vocal. I'm gonna be real aggressive. Just fucking hold me back a little bit before he gets out of control. Just make sure homeboy over there
I just
doesn't break my nose."
I just know if I get fucked up by anybody with a fake tan, they're gonna be about 6'4", 275, and fucking jacked. That's all I know. I fucking
Trump's about
yeah,
6'4",
whatever.
275, that's for sure. He's a big old
Yeah,
boy. He's definitely not jacked. He's just big. He's a big
I
boy.
used me and off topic, but real quick, me and Aaron back in Trump's first when he first ran, and
Uh-huh.
I never liked Trump, and mostly because he had a fake tan and he was a rich dude from fucking New York. I don't know where when rednecks were like, "Oh,
Yeah,
dude,
right.
fucking fake tan and a rich fucker from New York. He's fucking badass." And I told Aaron, I was like, if I had the opportunity to punch Trump, I would absolutely fucking punch him. And he's like, "Really? That's so gross." And I was like, I would. I have no respect for that dude. And I to
On
this
like a
day,
normal day-to-day basis is just like normality without like fame or fortune or anything else, like whatever getting in the way. Yeah, totally. He's definitely it's like those specific kind of individuals are very punchable for sure. For most like
yeah, exactly.
redneck
That's
trailer hood
the
dudes, which is
yeah,
a super ironic thing about Trump. That's for sure.
it is.
And so,
Anyways, I
yeah,
digress. Go ahead.
digress. We're going to digress to Palantir Technologies. Oh, Zach Laporte, bro, homie, dude, you need to understand that I'm doing this and I'm doing it kind of on the fly because I'm not really sure what I'm talking about that much. And I'm investigating it as I go. I've been spent a few days on this, but I'm doing this for you, homie. Okay, I really am because I think that it's really important, and we're going to talk about this. Joel's going to jump in periodically. We're going to go over a 22-point manifesto, and the more I research this, the more I understand why this is important for sure, especially when it comes to the Patriot Act. We did our last episode, right, on FISA 702 and how all of a sudden Tulsi Gabbard, who was Miss Anti-Patriot Act, and Donald Trump, who was super anti-Patriot Act. You know who else is anti-Patriot Act, Joel? Basically every
Uh,
fucking Republican that ran,
yeah,
everyone, including Mike
like
Johnson, Speaker of the House, super duper anti-Patriot Act, all this stuff. All these assholes, as soon as they get elected, what do? So we can't trust any of these people, bro. We can't trust anything these people say. Like they campaign to us and they say things to our faces, and they're like, this has been the most blatant disappointment for, like, personally for me as an administration that I've experienced. I think in my entire fucking life,
right.
seriously, and I really mean that. I really mean that, and that may say a lot about me as a person and how I think and my politics and stuff, and that's fine. Like I don't give a shit how anybody fucking feels about me or how I think about things. And you're entitled to your opinion on that. But it's like that's how I feel, dude. I don't think I've ever felt so let down, ever. Like the whole Elon Musk Doge thing, making big cuts, like all of these promises, no wars, spending cuts, better economy, like economy, economy, economy. That's what I keep saying, right? It's the economy, stupid. That's why people get fucking elected and then they don't do it. Every time it's the economy. That's why they get elected and none of them do it. None of them. None of the Republicans, Democrats, none of them. Fucking none of them. All
Well,
right. So Palantir Technologies serve as the core nervous system, quote, of the United States military and intelligence infrastructure. That's super important, dude. Military and intelligence infrastructure. That's basically our fangs and our claws, right? I mean, that's like what makes us violent. That's what keeps our republic, like, I guess you would say, sovereign from attacks. Intelligence and military infrastructure. I mean, that gives them an unbelievable, incredible amount of power, especially in an age where the Patriot Act has been going for decades. We're like,
right.
in a lot of ways, the Fourth, Fifth, Sixth, Seventh, and Eighth Amendments have been not scrapped, but cut up. They're hanging in there. They're on
Well,
their knees, down for the count. They
and
haven't got down for the count yet, but they're on their fucking knees for sure.
let's talk about like so the Patriot Act enabled Palantir to do what they want to do. So the Patriot Act is all based on if the government determines that you're a threat of national security. So once they determine you're a threat of national security, they could essentially do whatever the fuck they want when it comes to spying on you, search and siege. Like it's a different level. And now what Palantir is they are surveillance on steroids. They have access to all your things in Israel. I think it was, I want to say Stargazer. Um, it was a sister company of Palantir, and they set up shop to test their technology before, essentially to prove their technology before it came to America and sold it to our government. And what they did is sold it to the Israel Defense Ministry, and along with bombs and stuff like this. So it deals with targeting and mass surveillance and facial recognition, banks, like mad things. So they were looking in Israel to essentially see if you had Palestinian ties, and then they would go hunt you down, capture you. Um, it also like their bombing targets, and then that was the sister company to Palantir. And then in this last, really since the Trump administration, Palantir has kind of took over on our side, and they have contracts with ICE. That was one of the first things they did, and and I know everyone's thinking, oh, they're spying on terrorists, they're spying on immigrants. That's not what they're doing. They're taking information from everybody. They have satellite trucks essentially that will take like a 5 square block radius, and it could gather any IP address and have access to their internet. So like anything you do on your phone, any sort of banking, search history, a post, likes, anything like that has instant, no matter who it is. And they're not going through because they don't have time to go through and individually search those. They're taking that whole database with them and all that information. So it's now there. And I think what's going on with Palantir is like one of the biggest, put the blinders on because it's going to change how everything is done, especially if it goes as far as they want to. And this is why they're talking about like how should we regulate AI and stuff like this. And Palantir is actually not an AI. They team up with AIs and they write softwares that AI throws into them. So they team up with these other AI companies, and it's the PayPal bros. Peter Thiel is a PayPal bro. Like it's this really weird tech driven authoritarian state, and they sell it on safety. They say we're going to make the state safer. They talk about having cameras installed everywhere so we'll have safe streets. Do we really fucking want that? You want to be able to walk across the street like without your face being seen? You want to be able to fucking, just think if you're rolling smoke and a Democrat has this under his fucking technology, and you go past a street light and they see smoke up, and then they see your license plate, and the next thing you have the Fed knocking on your door because you're not complying to EPA regulations. Like this could go so many fucking ways, and we're sitting here with our hands by our side. Why Palantir is taking over all the surveillance in America? You know, and this goes with like hand in hand with the flock cameras and some of the Stan Altman's AI company. Like this is all one big thing, and they have like closed door meetings with all these billionaires in tech, and this is why all these tech billionaires are saying like, oh, we don't want you to regulate this because they want to get it instilled before regulations could happen. Like you don't need a Jeffrey Epstein when your government could blackmail you. Like
Yeah.
this is
That's
what
the
they're
next
getting
step,
into.
right?
Like
AI is the
this
next
is
step to
yeah,
that. Yeah. 100%. And I've seen, I've seen people, and this is the same thing with the Patriot Act. I see people all the time. They're like, like, because like Thomas Massey or whoever will post something, basically being like Rand Paul, who I'm super disappointed in because he just voted to give 12,000 missiles to Israel, and I don't know why the fuck he
right.
did that against almost everything he says he believes in. But it's like you have, shit. Where, yeah. So they basically will have people that will say, like I don't have anything to hide. I got nothing to hide. So why, like, I don't care. Like, I have nothing to hide. So dig through literally conservative conservative figureheads that call themselves constitutionalists. Remember, we talked about this, like commercial constitutionalists, right? They can give them 30 seconds, they can hold it down. Give them more than 30 seconds, they're going to start running out of material to talk about when it comes to the
Nope.
Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I thought we were fighting for a way of life. I thought we were fighting for an experiment. I thought like, all of these tens of thousands of American soldiers that have went out there and stacked bodies and spilled blood and had their own blood spilled were doing it for a goddamn reason. I thought we were doing it for a fucking idea, you know? I thought we were doing it. Yeah, we are doing it for money. It is for money. That's what we're finding out.
Yep.
It has nothing to do with the goddamn Constitution and the Bill of Rights and the foundational principles of the Republic and equal protection under the law and like all of these other things, the Fourth, Fifth, Sixth, Seventh, and Eighth Amendment, which were meant to curtail the powers of the state against the peasant class, against the individual that has no power and no money. And it's like you get these just like conservative fucking they're goddamn traitors, man. That's what they fucking are. They're fucking
Well,
traitors,
and
as far as I'm concerned.
the crazy thing with like the people who are developing these technology are fucking nerds, dude. They've never swung a hammer. They were rich kids who knew how to write code. They sold
Yep.
fucking PayPal and then did their next thing. They're not like what you think as a conservative, especially if you're from like Route County, rolling smoke. Like these people have nothing fucking in common with you. They're telling their kids to read fucking Aristotle and Plato and Dostoevsky and say education is important. You know, like these people are. Peter Thiel like talks about. They ask him a question in this podcast about like, do
They're
you
kind of
think
like
like humanity
anti-humanists.
should move on? Yeah, and he talks about like he hesitates and kind of gives this really weird answer, then talks about being able to download your consciousness into a computer, and that's how humans live on. Like these are weird psycho people, and they have a lot of money. Peter Thiel had a lot of ties to Israel, was selling them with the sister company. He uh he was helping. He's the one who got JD Vance and Trump to meet because they hated each other. He fostered that relationship to because he wanted an inside foot in Trump's cabinet, and that was JD Vance, you know. And
Yeah.
like I got a just real quick, this is so when you're talking about Palantir, you have Alex Karp and Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel is, I think he's removed now, but he was a founder. I don't know how far removed he is, if he has some sort of ownership or whatnot. And then right now, Alex Karp is the other one. And here's just some quotes that he's talking about. And this is like what they're about. And most of this is talking about Israel and their time over
Light
there.
fentanyl laced. Well, I love the idea of getting a drone and having light fentanyl laced urine spraying on analysts who tried to screw us. Palantir is here to disrupt and make the institutions we partner with the very best in the world. And when it's necessary, to scare enemies and on occasion kill them. You show me race of anti-Semitism, I'll show you the health of your culture. We're going to either have AI and determine the rules, or our adversaries will have it and they'll determine the rules. Our primary mission is, in fact, to set a global standard for the world for behavior.
You know what I
Your
love
mic's
about that?
off. There you go.
Really quick. What do you say? You show us the state of
You show
anti-Semitism,
us
and we'll show you the
and we'll show
state
you the health of your state.
of your state. I bet you he considers any criticism of the state of Israel anti-Semitic as a
Yeah,
state.
I'm sure.
As a religion, as a
I'm
state.
sure. Because
Guaranteed,
he
right?
made billions of dollars over there, and they have endless wars. They have endless enemies over there. So, like, why would you not?
Really quick, too, before I forget this. Did you hear about that girl? Since we're kind of on this. There's a girl in Florida. She was going to a school. I think it was Florida. Yeah, I think because Florida has passed some like laws about even being able to talk about Israel, like at all, even Israel, not like Jews, quote Jews, right? Like the state of Israel. And this girl was arrested, bro. She made a joke about Benjamin Netanyahu, who like not even the state of Israel and not even about like the Jewish faith, just Benjamin Netanyahu. And she got arrested and she is being charged with like anti-Semitism. And she made some kind of joke about their bombing campaign, like Netanyahu's bombing campaign or something to that effect. And dude, we talk about the Bill of Rights, right? And the First Amendment in this stuff. And what we're really finding out, dude, is I thought this fight in a lot of ways was kind of against the left, right? Like with COVID and like there was the trans stuff where they try to silence you if you couldn't talk about it, you couldn't talk about COVID. And like what we're really finding out is it's just the power that passes to the next administration, right? Because like for the right, Israel is their COVID and their trans issue. Like if you want to talk about
Right.
like boys and girls bathrooms, right? Or COVID, the COVID shot, that's Israel is the Republicans or the conservatives trans people. That's what Israel is. Like as much as they'll be like, we're going to protect speech, like free speech absolutism, right? What Ben Shapiro talked about during the entire COVID thing. Free speech absolutism on a college campus. And then as soon as Trump gets in power, Ben Shapiro is one of the first motherfuckers out there saying that you should be put in a cage if you say anything about Israel. And he's supposed to be a free speech absolutist. That shit's scary as
Right.
fuck to me, dude. Because I mean, like Florida's kind of, it might not be Florida. I'm pretty sure it's Florida, but it's a pretty independent state. Like there's a lot of like, I guess quote independent freedom, individual freedom in that state. But that dude with, I mean, I know because you have DeSantis there, and then you have what is that fat piece of shit? That absolute complete Randy Fine. You know who Randy Fine is?
All right.
Randy Fine's the
I
guy who
do.
tweets like, "Thank God for dead Palestinian children." He tweets stuff like that all the time. Even in Lebanon. Even in Lebanon, he's like, "Thank God for like dead Lebanese people." I mean, he is one of the most grotesque. You want to talk about wanting to punch somebody in the fucking face? I want to knock the fat off this guy. And he's like 450 pounds of disgustingness. And it's like I want to knock about 300 pounds off that motherfucker. Just slapping him around. I mean, he is a terrible, terrible human being. Florida, that is I mean, I can't believe that fucking happened, dude. I can't believe there's a girl in fucking jail right now for just talking about
Well,
Benjamin Netanyahu. United States.
Florida's been progressive with individual rights when it comes to like carrying a gun and stuff, but like outside of, um, just like they're the same one of the states to ban Plato, or was that Texas? It was one
No,
of the they're
Texas.
pretty they banned a bunch of fucking literature that some of the Black history books. I don't know, like there's actual names, like I've seen them where like they pulled them off shelves, and that's the whole thing, and that's this whole country. I'm just fucking sick and tired of people being divided over dumb fucking shit that really has no relevance to
That's
anything.
how
Like,
uneducated we are.
I
We're so uneducated
no,
that we don't understand how important Plato is to Western democracy. That's how fucking
yeah. Well,
stupid.
and well, and the whole thing, and this is like, so when I talk about transgender stuff, like this is the reason they're banning Plato's book is because he was talking about gender and like different things, and like people think like transgender like just showed up. We now have the scientific technology to have a sex change and make it viable. But like this is something that's happened throughout time. A lot of Native Americans, Central Americans, like they call them like twin spirits, and typically they were considered healers. Like they were
I think the Druids. I
like,
think the Druids, the Nordic Druids, were a lot like that too.
and just like there's so, and this is when I say like this conversation has a lot of nuance, and they use things like that to fucking divide us, you know. And that's my biggest thing. What I hate about it is like I don't agree with everything that is in and along with that movement, but like I'm not going to use it to fucking divide me. I'm
You
not
know
going
what's
to
funny?
something that
Yeah, you know what's funny? So like we talk a lot of shit about Karl Marx, right?
right,
Well, Karl Marx in the Communist Manifesto has got something that's the 10 pillars of communism in the Communist Manifesto. And we've instituted like 4 of his pillars in the United States, and people don't even know it. Like Social
right,
Security, like eminent domain with land. I want to talk about, I think it was like the fire departments and the police departments, the military, like that all kind of combines to one. Retirement. Um, like basically there was a lot of social programs that were in the Communist Manifesto within like the 10 pillars of communism that everybody talks. I've read it personally. And so like if you haven't read it, you should probably read it. Like I would always recommend reading the stuff that you're about ready to talk about. Like actually read it. Don't read like the bullet points. But like it's like Plato, right? Plato has the allegory of the cave. He talks about fucking
right,
Atlantis. Like the story of Atlantis is from Plato, which is, like huge, and especially into like what do you call it, alternative history and archaeology, which is kind of taken over right now. I mean, realistically, from like academic history and archaeology, alternative history and archaeology, what we're finding is they're it's like the conspiracy theorists, right? That are batting a 900 or 1,000. We're finding that alternative history and archaeology is becoming way, way more right than academic history and archaeology. And it's like you have to, so it's, I mean, it's like, okay, so we can talk shit about Karl Communist Manifesto, but people don't even know that we instituted like 3 or 4 of his pillars of the 10 pillars of communism within the United States governance. And it's like
right,
Plato. Plato is central, is wildly important to the academic infrastructure of like Western civilization. And just to be like, ban them, ban it, ban them. Nobody can read it. It's fucking ignorant as fuck, dude. Like, come up with your own conclusions. You should be able to read Karl Marx and come up with your own conclusions. You should be able to read
yeah,
Plato and come up with your own conclusions. You should be able to read The Age of Reason by Thomas Paine and come up with your own conclusions. You should be able to read all of these people from all of these different ideas of governance and politics and realpolitik and come up with your own fucking conclusions. The people that are the enemy are the people that are banning shit. The people that are the enemy are the people that tell you not to fucking read it. Like, what are they scared of? You read it and you change your opinion? It's like taking
right.
psychedelics, right? You take psychedelics and all of a sudden you might not conform to normal society anymore, and that's a fucking problem. And so we need to put those people in a cage for 20 fucking years and make sure that they can't talk to people about the profound experiences they had on psychedelics, because that might change society and make society less nationalistic. You know what I mean? And
Right.
heaven forbid we
Well, and
let
that's
that.
and that's and that's one of the reasons like I have pushed out of religion a long time, because religion are the ones who were banning Plato. They were trying to get rid of these teachings and stuff before, and like you had the Council of Nicaea who consolidated Christianity and said like this is going to be our story, right? And moved anything out of it that they didn't
Nicaea.
agree with. Nicaea, sorry.
That's
And
okay.
and then you had like the time when Constantine was in, and we go and take all this history from all these cultures. Constantine collected it in this massive library, and then it catches fire. So all of a sudden, like you have all these other cultures, all these other religions that were happening at the same time period, same era, and Christianity has done everything it can throughout, and mostly through colonization and the spread of Christianity to eradicate all that stuff, you know? And and that's like the Bible is a lot of history for that region. But outside of that region, like the Bible is mostly history and allegory, you
Oh
know,
yeah,
but it's
it's all
just
about the
for that
region.
region. And it's,
100%
you
about the
know,
region.
and that, and the funny thing too is like, it's not even like, how you get Christian nationalism and where Christianity came from, like the Middle East, and then you get all these white people in Europe, and this is obviously through the Crusades, and I mean you're talking thousands and thousands of years, but then how it's became this white dominated Aryan, and not everybody, but the extremes of it. You know, it's beyond me. Like if you take your time to do your history on religion, it's
Probably with the exception of the
just
Catholics,
harder
right?
to believe.
The
Yeah,
Catholics are pretty Hispanic, Spanish origin, but
yeah,
I totally agree. Yeah, I totally see what you feel about that. And like that book, yeah, and I love the Bible. I really do actually because I love history. And the Bible, especially the Old Testament, is filled with wild amounts of really accurate history. There really is tons of accounts of really accurate history in there that it's really cool to explore. And especially like biblical archaeology can be really neat. But it's like, dude, if you were living in fucking modern day Oregon, right? But it wasn't Oregon, and it was 10,000 BC. Like, you don't nobody knows anything about Jesus until until like I mean, within even the Americas until thousands of years after he died in the
right.
fall of Jerusalem. It's like, yeah, it was absolutely a regional book. 100% a regional book. You know what I mean? And that's kind of like I have a big problem with Christianity when they say, you know, if you don't accept Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior, you're not going to go to heaven. And I'm like, what? There's a lot of people out there who would have never even heard who the fuck he was. I feel like
Right.
there's more that goes into it than that. It's like, is it your fault if you live in the Amazon rainforest and you've never heard of Jesus Christ and you die, or you're not going to go to fucking heaven if you were a great, awesome person who is a defender and a family man and raised good fucking kids and like was a good, honest human being? You're not going to go to hell because you didn't accept Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior. That's fucking absurd to me. It's
Well,
absolutely absurd.
and and the crazy thing is, like within the timelines of history, like, and you said there's a lot of provable history, and there's also like when you talk about the flood, when you talk about some of these large Earth events that weren't just affecting that region, like it coincides with cultures on the other side of the world telling the same story, you know, but their
Mhm.
Messiah was called somebody else, you know, and
It's
that's
like
where like
Quetzalcoatl.
Christian,
Quetzalcoatl is like the South American
yeah,
Noah figure, basically.
yeah,
Quetzalcoatl. There's a
exactly,
lot of figures like that from the ancient flood stories from probably about 10, 11,000 BC ish, right around the Younger Dryas impact, where the biblical flood story came from and originated. And, you know, like we said, there's about 80 different cultures and societies across the entire globe that share that flood story. It doesn't belong to the Christians. It's
right,
been
and
told.
that's
As a matter of fact, the Noah flood story itself was kind of stolen from the Epic of Gilgamesh in Samaria.
yeah,
And like if you read the flood story in the Epic of Gilgamesh, it almost mirrors the Noah flood story like almost to a T, man. Like two of every critter. Um, I think it was Enki who was the god instead of Yahweh, who basically came down and said, it's not Noah, it's I want to say Karma Sutra, but it's obviously not Karma Sutra.
yeah.
It's like he has a name that is really interesting. And in the story, it's the same thing. Like he becomes one of the gods. It's one of those things where it's fascinating to me, but it's like that those stories don't belong to Christianity. They belong to
Well,
humanity. Oh,
and the only reason Christianity spread is every time the book was consolidated or rewritten, it was under consolidation of power. That they changed languages from like as far as if they're talking about purely male or female, like within things, homosexuality wasn't mentioned as far as actual being gay or homosexual until they wrote the Bible.
dude, for the people out there that don't know, is wildly homosexual. Like it really is. And it's amazing to me because the one thing people will really talk about a lot, especially like on the right, they'll be like, if you're on the left, how could you support Iraq or Afghanistan or Iran or Yemen or whatever the fuck, right? Because they're anti-homosexual. And it's like they're anti-men falling in love with men or women falling in love with women, but they're wildly homosexual and lesbian over there. Dude, I've never seen so
Right.
much male-on-male hand-holding and groping in my fucking life until I went to Afghanistan. My first ever deployment in 2003 was Afghanistan. You want to talk about being, one of the most two eye-opening aspects. Okay, coming from a small country boy from Colorado, first time ever in a different country, ever in my whole fucking life. And the first thing that was wildly shocking to me was the poverty. Okay, I'd never seen poverty like that before, ever. The second thing that was wildly shocking to me was the gayness. I had never seen fucking gayness like that, ever. As a matter of fact, we had a Sergeant Taylor. This dude, I can't say he was roided out, but he was one of the most angry, large men I have ever met in my fucking life. And he was wildly intimidating. And this dude, he one-timed like an AMF Afghan military force dude because he like grabbed his hand. We were standing on like the edge of a Hilux, like a Toyota Hilux, which is like a Toyota Hiluxes are all over the Middle East. If anybody that's in military or contracting knows that Toyota Hiluxes are probably the best trucks that have ever been made in fucking the history of vehicles ever. Seriously, you can blow an engine pan off, shoot it full of holes, drain it of a radiator fluid, and that motherfucker will get you 55 miles to the next fob forward operation base before it dies. It's fucking incredible what those
Re-
trucks will. Besides the point.
regime
Taylor, like
change.
one time
Regime
this
change
AMF.
on the budget.
Yeah, right. We started using those Hiluxes. They started arming them up because we realized that those Toyota Hiluxes were better made than anything we had in the American arsenal. The Humvees, the Up Armors, even the MRAPs they came out with later, dude, nothing beat a Toyota Hilux, bro. A fucking armored up Toyota Hilux was the best goddamn vehicle you could have in either fucking theater, Iraq or Afghanistan. But dude, I'd never you can be gay as shit in those countries. They are gay as fuck in those countries. They almost only have sex with women to procreate in a lot of ways. I mean, like the military will have boys. Like the AMF guys, we were literally instructed as US military personnel not to intervene in like child rape and child prostitution. That is a really hard thing to fucking deal with. I remember in Kabul when little boys would get dressed up like girls. They were orphan boys. They were like 10 years old. They put eyeliner on them. They put like lipstick on them. They do their hair. They put them in dresses. They put blush on them and stuff. And then they would auction them. Like in Kabul, in the city, fucking noon, broad daylight. And they would auction these little boys off, these little orphan boys off to the highest bidders to basically go be sex slaves. And it was boy on boy shit.
Well,
And so it's like, I'm just saying, like that part of the
crazy.
world is wildly fucking gay. And the crazy thing about it is it gets this big time anti-gay rap because they won't legalize gay marriage. Like they'll kill you if you fall in love like with a dude and you're a dude, they'll fucking kill both of you. But if you guys are just banging each other out, they don't give a fuck about dudes just banging each other out. Like they really, really don't, man.
Well,
Like the culture is really weird that way, but it's super true.
Well, and it's also they got a higher population of men too. Like I think it becomes a little like Brokeback Mountain story, you
Oh, for
know,
sure.
like more.
Yeah.
And it's like I always joke about this too. Is like not even making it up. You have a much higher chance of. I mean, I don't have kids, and this isn't directed at you. But somebody with kids, you have a much higher chance of your kid getting molested by a member of a clergy or a church than you do
100%.
any transgender.
Yeah,
By
100%.
like
Not even close.
by like 70%, 80%, you know? And that's like the, religious represses a bunch of that shit. And like, I'm not saying there's proper ways to deal with all of it, but it's like if this was all about the kids and stuff, like look at all the sex scandals. I mean, you could just Google church sex scandal and you'll get 25 this year.
Dude,
You know, like this is
Trump's first spiritual advisor went to fucking prison for banging out kids for like 90 days.
And he got like
He did like 90
Yeah,
days.
he got
It's amazing to me that this shit isn't like talked about more. Because that other crazy bitch, there's a spiritual
Right.
advisor that talks in tongues, that tiny little blonde. that like bebops on stage and it's like everywhere I walk is holy. Where I walk, God walks. We're all holy. Jesus is the same thing as Trump. Trump is Jesus. Jesus is Trump. They're the same. Dude, the guy before her went like got busted screwing kids, dude. Like, and there's nothing about it.
Coming back to this argument or discussion, not argument, is like, so you're going to tell me, and this is going to talk about that something happened recently. There's a bunch of Army vets that were doing like a silent protest. Nothing crazy. They're standing and I forget where was that, Ty?
It was in DC. It was like in the National Mall. In one of those,
Right.
I think, in one of those National Mall like kind of monument area, like they made like if you think like if you've ever been to like the Lincoln Monument, right? There's an inside, it's all marble, but there's like
Right.
outside, right? It's like the inside outside, kind of like during COVID, right? And so it's just like open, big marble, cool areas. Yeah, they had all those vets there that all got fucking arrested for
Yeah.
silently
So
protesting or like quietly, nicely, non-violently protesting the Iran war.
we're fucking arresting vets who, probably will get a ticket, and who knows if they'll have to do any jail time. It probably won't be that bad. But regardless, how many
It'll be
people
on their
got
record.
arrested from,
Be on their
yeah,
fucking
well,
record.
forever.
That's a problem.
And as a silent protest, they weren't getting in the way of anybody. So how many people got arrested from the Epstein files?
Zero.
Yeah,
Zero.
Trump's religious advisor did 90 days for having sex with a 13-year-old. Like, I mean,
Yep.
when are we going to start fucking standing up for kids and old people in this fucking country, dude?
This
It's
is the
fucking
stuff
sick, man.
yeah. This is the stuff that endears Americans to Iran. Because when Iran puts out those fucking ridiculous Lego videos that talks about Epstein and like how corrupt the American government is, it's like, dude, how can you not relate to that as an American if you've done any kind of homework at all? Like, if you are not just waking up in the morning, eating breakfast, going to fucking work, coming home, dealing with your kids, watching, I don't know, some goddamn Netflix show that doesn't have anything to do with anything that's reality, and then going to bed and doing it all over the next day where your head's so far up your ass, you have no idea what's going on in the fucking real world. It's like, it's amazing how many people are really like that. It's almost like the vast majority of American society.
Because our politicians have us so fucking fed up with, or so tied into our ideology that we don't, like, you don't see past your ideology. Like there's how no one is in jail from the Epstein stuff. Go read those files yourself. There's been people in other countries who've been put in prison, who've lost positions, like, and we're sitting here.
Yeah, giving up like royalty. People have given up their royalty status just for even being in the files, just because their name was in there. Not even because they necessarily maybe even did anything, but their fucking names were in the files by itself was enough. Hey, Zach, I want to go over that. We're going to go over some of this stuff, Joel. I want to do it, man.
Okay.
All right. I know we're an hour in, but because here, I want to go over it because I want it to be the way that I'm going to set it in my brain like a foundation is to go over it and talk about it. And then we're going to fucking expand on it later. Okay. But I want to go over it a little bit and talk about it so it sets in my brain a little bit. All right. So Palantir Technologies serves as the core nervous system of the United States military and intelligence infrastructure. The company has moved from being a provider of experimental software to an essential, permanent component of the U.S. government through massive multi-billion-dollar contracts. Everything's about contracts, homie. Everything. Military and intelligence operations, operational impact in Iran. We might talk about this one for a minute. During the ongoing conflict with Iran, Palantir's AI has reportedly reduced targeting time from hours to minutes on the first day of operations alone. So on the first day of operations alone, we're going to get back to this. It assisted in generating more than 1,000 primary targets, priority targets. Hey, Joel, what was bombed in the first day?
All girls school.
Oh, an all girls school where we killed like 200 little girls, parents, and teachers. 200 little girls parents and teachers was on the first
I'm
fucking
I'm
day.
gonna paraphrase Alex Karp real quick, but he also talks about how if the Geneva Convention was never created and war crimes weren't a thing, it would make his job a lot easier. And
Right.
that's what they do is targeting. So,
Well, Netanyahu said the same thing.
kind of weird. Yep.
Netanyahu said something real similar. It's like you kind of got to get people, you got to get the people used to civilians dying. You got to get your civilian population used to other civilians dying and being okay with it. That's basically what Netanyahu said, and he's been doing it at a record pace. Domestic data collection. This goes right along the Patriot Act and FISA 702 that we were talking about last deal. Okay, immigration. A $30 million contract with ICE to track migrant movements in real time and prioritize deportations using a combination of biometrics, tax data, and license plates records. Working hand in hand with ICE, okay. And like you said, ICE is going to be at like voting facilities. It's been taking TSA's place. ICE has the biggest budget in the history of federal law enforcement, and their budget is bigger than most fucking countries' military budget entirely. Just so everybody knows how much money fucking ICE gets out there. All right, agency integration. The company uses its Foundry platform to organize data for the IRS, taxpayer records. They're responsible for that. Department of Education and Social Security Administration. Okay. And they did a 22-point manifesto. We're going to kind of go over it. I know we're an hour into this sucker. I hope you're still with us. This is totally worth it. Joel, stop me or I'll expand. You know what I mean? And then we'll go from there. All right. So
Yep.
1, Silicon Valley owns a moral debt to the country that made its rise possible. The engineering elite of Silicon Valley has an affirmative obligation to participate in the defense of the nation. The defense of the nation. You brought this up earlier, where you talked about how they owe a moral debt. I don't believe in any of this morality shit in our government. I fucking don't. I think it's all bullshit. It's all a ruse. It's all fucking fake. None of it fucking matters. When they talk about kids, where they talk about liberating the women of Iran, right? We're liberating the women of Iran, and it's all bullshit. Nothing speaks like the fucking green, dude. It's green or be gone. Period. That's it. That's fucking all. All that stuff is bullshit. Number 2, we must rebel against the tyranny of apps. Is the iPhone our greatest creative, if not crowning achievement as a civilization? The object has changed our lives, but it may also be a limiting and constraining our sense of what is possible. 3, free email is not enough. The decadence of a culture or civilization is indeed its ruling class. Will be forgiven. Okay, hold on. Is indeed the ruling class will be forgiven only if that culture is capable of delivering economic growth and security for the public. Hey, Joel, what did Benjamin Franklin say about security? Trading liberty for security. Remember?
Yeah. It's also Trump talks about when he was talking about FICA or did I
FISA.
say it right? FISA, saying essentially the same thing of trading security for defense, or
Trade
freedoms
liberty.
for security. Yeah, and it's fucking beyond me how anybody could
Dude,
listen to
yeah,
this shit and
that's a good point. We should have talked about it. You just brought up a really good point that I completely forgot about. Trump did do a tweet, and I should have said it. We're like halfway through this tweet. It was a typical 1,000-word tweet, right? Trump has these crazy tweets where you're like, how the fuck? If you can find it, Joel, find it. Because it's like halfway through the tweet, he basically says that we need, as a society, as a people, as a culture, we need to be able to, we need to be willing to give up our rights for security. That goes against every foundational principle that the United States fucking holds dear. Go ahead, bud.
okay, this is from it's a really long thing, so I'm not going to read the thing. It's directly related to extending FISA 702. And this is towards the middle end. He goes, I'm willing to risk giving up my rights and privileges as a citizen for our great military in our country.
Yeah, you go fuck yourself. How about that? You want to give up your rights as a citizen? Have at it. Move out of the country. Go give up your rights.
Yeah.
That's fucking fine with me. I could give a shit how you feel about it. I'm not giving up my rights. Go fuck yourself is my response to that. Donald Trump. Go fuck yourself, Donald Trump. I'm not doing that. Number 4, the limits of soft power of soaring rhetoric alone have been exposed. The ability of free and democratic societies to prevail requires something more than moral appeal. It requires hard power. And hard power this century will be built on software and AI technology. Okay. Number 5, the question is not whether AI weapons will be built, it is who will build them and for what purpose. Our adversaries will not pause to indulge in theoretical debates about the merits of developing technologies with critical military and national security applications. Instead, they will simply proceed. Man, I don't feel comfortable with all this military AI shit, dude. Like it's like sending a dog into a gunfight that's like a robot dog, with a fucking rifle on its back. You know what I mean? Or like those drones. There's some terrible drone videos out there from the Ukraine war where these soldiers just like give up. You can tell they're just giving up. Like they're not even trying to
Well,
hide,
it's
shooting at the drone. Like they've just completely given up. Like they've given up on their life. It's almost like they've committed suicide via drone. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that scares the fuck out of me, dude. I don't like it at all.
well, in Anthropic, when we were talking about, and so Palantir works within all these AIs, like they kind of work together. Palantir creates like a data mining system that these AIs feed into. And Anthropic was talking about at the one of our first or second podcasts where their former CEO, like or head software development, I forget who he was exactly, stepped back because he was saying that like they're gonna be taking away the human from pushing the button to kill somebody. And they're also going to be
Yep.
bringing this technology to the United States. And he's like, I'm all for this, using this on our enemies, but we should still be the one making the decision if someone's going to die or not. It shouldn't be because the algorithm says.
Yeah, and it like the first 1,000 targets, priority targets, were fucking made up by Palantir. That is exactly what he's talking about. That is AI. That's like ChatGPT, Claude, Gronk, whatever, having intercontinental ballistic missiles at its disposal. Think about like Gronk on X, just having intercontinental ballistic missiles sitting at its disposal. All you got to do is punch in a fucking GPS code. A 10-digit GPS code will get you within 10 meters of your target. So you punch in a 10-digit GPS code, right? And all of a sudden, you're killing lots of people. That puts you within 10 meters of your target. That's plenty good enough to do a shit ton of killing. All right, number 6, national service should be a universal duty. I'm going to say this again. This is the draft. Number 6, national service should be a universal duty. They are talking about the draft. We should, as a society, seriously consider moving away from an all-volunteer force, and only fight the next war if everyone shares in the risk and the cost, as if everyone is sharing in the risk and the cost, or ever has.
Right.
When there wasn't an all-volunteer force before during Vietnam, Donald Trump dodged the draft 5 times. 5 fucking times he dodged the draft. He was a coward.
And when he
5 times. And he came out with a tweet today, Joel, that said that if he was in Vietnam, it would have ended sooner, right? What was the tweet? Do you remember that?
Yeah, you sent it to me. Which
Dude, this shit worked me up so much. I couldn't believe this motherfucker had 5 opportunities to fight in the Vietnam War, and he has the balls. He has the chutzpah, for those of you out there that are Jewish. He has the chutzpah to say that shit while not serving in the Vietnam War, dodging the draft 5 times, and he has the fucking chutzpah to come out the bottom. The brass to come out and say that he would have ended the Vietnam War quicker through fighting.
Well, he said, I would have won Vietnam very quickly, was his direct quote. And that's the whole thing. Like, just like he was going to end the Ukraine war, just like, I mean.
Dude, it's amazing to me anybody listens to this fucking guy anymore, dude. It's just absolutely amazing to me, bro. I can't even, I can't with this dude. He's such a fucking ball of turd. That's all he is. All right, 7. If a U.S. Marine asks for a better rifle, we should build it. And the same goes for software. We should, as a country, be capable of continuing the debate about the appropriateness of military action abroad while remaining unflinching in our commitment to those we have asked to help in harm's way. I feel like saying if a U.S. Marine asks for a better rifle, we should build it is an interesting way to begin that, because it puts you like, most Americans are going to be like, fucking, of course, if a U.S. Marine wants a better rifle, we should build it. And then they go into other stuff. Like it's kind of like the very first one, right? Silicon Valley owes a debt of moral gratitude to the country that made its rise possible. It's like, go fuck yourself, dude. It's not how you fucking feel about this country. You don't fucking feel like we owe you anything. Give me a break, dude. And you don't give a shit about the Marine that needs a better rifle either. You don't fucking care about that either.
No.
All right. 8. Public servants need not be our priests. Any business that compensated its employees in the way that a federal government compensates public servants would struggle to survive. That's an interesting one.
Yeah.
It's
still trying
basically
to
like
wrap my
it's
head around
saying
that
any
one.
business that compensates its employees as well as the federal government compensates its employees is a bad idea. It kind of sounds like you're going against labor unions on that. You think?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, AI is trying to make themselves look good, because there's a lot of, essentially, we're going to let these companies come in, mass surveil us, and take our jobs. Like, so what's the pro behind this besides them making a bunch of fucking money? And there's good things with AI. AI can do a lot of great things, but yeah, I don't know. Go on, Ty.
That's a weird one, dude. Public servants need not be our priests. Any business that compensated its employees in a way that the federal government compensates public servants would struggle to survive. That sounds like a lot of fuckery to me, dude. That just basically sounds like, don't pay your people shit or else you're not going to survive. It's like, hey, don't worry, Palantir. People aren't getting paid shit compared to the cost of living. Don't worry about that. That's already happening. For God's sakes, like, quell your concerns a little bit. Like, what people make versus the cost of living is not fucking equitable. But the thing about it is, so when he talks about the federal government, there's a thing with that, because like if you're a government employee, whether you're state or federal, primarily federal, there's always like, it's hard to get off the government tit. You know what I mean? Because it is.
Right.
Like the benefits and retirement you get in federal work is second to none. It really fucking is. They're, like the bennies are crazy. Like retirement, medical, dental, like leave, you name it. It's got fantastic bennies. And so he's basically being like, that's unsustainable. Like, don't fucking give your people benefits like that. That's pretty much what he's saying. 9. We should show far more grace towards those who have subjected themselves to public life. Their addiction of any space for forgiveness, a jettisoning of any tolerance for the complexities that contradictions of the human psyche may leave us with a cast of characters at the helm we will grow to regret. What the fuck does that... Do you want me to read that one again? That is confusing as shit. We should show far more grace towards those that have subjected themselves to public life. Okay, that seems simple enough to understand. The eradication of any space for forgiveness, a jettisoning of any tolerance for the complexities and contradictions of the human psyche, may leave us with a cast of characters at the helm we will grow to regret.
It's saying they want you to be fucking lockstep, think the same way, do the same thing. When that's the digital authoritarian vision, and that's why the surveillance and all that. Because they don't want to say it. Fucking.
That was the most confusing 2 sentences I've ever read out loud in my life. Man, okay, 10. Joel, 10. The psychologicalization of modern politics is leading us astray. Those who look to the potential arena to nourish their soul and sense of self, who rely too heavily on the internal life finding expression in people they may never meet, will be left disappointed. Dude, okay. 11. Our society has grown too eager to hasten and is often gleeful at the demise of its enemies. The vanquishing of an opponent is a moment to pause, not rejoice. That one makes sense. Okay. Basically saying like, it's kind of like a turn the other cheek. You know what I mean?
Yep.
A little bit in a way. It's like a New Testament, not an Old Testament eye for an eye. It's like a New Testament
but
turn
it's
the other cheek.
bullshit, is what it is. But
Number 12. The atomic age is ending. The age of deterrence, the atomic age, is ending, and a new era of deterrence built on AI is set to begin. I call bullshit on that. I call total bullshit on that. Because what we're finding out for sure is that the atomic age is just as real now as it's ever been. You know who we're not attacking? Anybody with a nuclear weapon. Anybody with a nuclear weapon.
right.
Russia, North Korea, China, India, Pakistan, fucking you name it, right? Does Iran have a nuclear weapon? No, we're blowing the hell out of them. We've spent 2 decades fucking up countries with no nuclear weapons, repeatedly, right? And then you're like, what about oil? The Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz is crippling the entire world economy right now, and it's like that is built around oil and energy and like fertilizer and parts. You know what I mean? And it's like that is crippling the world right now. What's going on with the Strait of Hormuz? So it's like I don't think the atomic age is ending at all, quite frankly. As a matter of fact, I think there's going to be more states getting atomic weapons on purpose, right? We talked about that like episodes and episodes and episodes ago. Poland's trying to get a nuke. Canada wants to get a nuke now. Like a lot of states that don't have nukes want to get nukes so they don't get fucked with. Because they understand that if you have a nuke, you're never going to get fucked with. You're just not. They're going to let you do whatever the fuck you want to do, you know? So I don't think the atomic age is ending, for sure. Number 13, no other country in the history of the world has advanced progressive values more than this one. The United States is far from perfect, but it is easy to forget how much more opportunity exists in this country for those who are not hereditarily elites than in any other nation on the planet. That might be correct. That's an interesting point.
That's
kind of like a pull yourself up by your bootstraps capitalism statement, right? You'll get what you put, the work you put out of it, you'll get out of it.
Which makes a lot less sense now than it's ever done, but I understand the point.
The economy is terrible. What was our job? What was our jobs report? We talked about this last episode. Nothing. Zero.
And they were talking to a company that's going to be taking our jobs as well. It's weird.
Remember, like, I think it was the third podcast we brought up the American Dream, and we're like, when was the American Dream really real? And we were trying to like nail down. I think the Boomer generation was the generation that actually. That's why the Boomer generation is so like kind of hardcore in their beliefs. You know, like when it comes to war, they're like the most war-centric generation ever. When it comes to Israel, they're the most Israel-centric generation ever. When it comes to debt, like they're the most debt-centric generation, Keynesian economic generation ever, you know? And so like the American dream had a very short lifespan in the United States. All right, number 14, American power has made possible an extraordinary long peace. American power has made possible an extraordinarily long peace. Doesn't seem like it. Too many have forgotten or perhaps take for granted that nearly a century of some version of peace has prevailed in the world without a great power military conflict. At least 3 generations, billions of people and their children and now grandchildren have never known a world war. Maybe they've never known a world war, but there has been unbelievable amounts of like domestic, local rebel wars. It may be more than ever, honestly. I mean, we have a shit.
How many hundreds of millions of people did we kill in the wars and sanctions since 2000? Like some enormous amount of number.
Yeah, we've killed millions of people.
Yeah.
since 9/11. In like the whole region,
Right.
we've well over 1 million at least. I mean, way more than Iran has ever even thought about killing. The United States and Israel has killed 100 times or 1,000 times more people than Iran has ever fucking killed or even thought about killing. The post-war neutering of Germany and Japan must be undone. The defanging of Germany was an overcorrection for which Europe is now paying a heavy price. That's 100% true. Treaty of Versailles after World War I, Germany got absolutely
Right.
castrated. Like Hitler, Hitler, for those of you who don't know, actually fought in World War I, which means that he would have seen a tremendous amount of combat, like really, really terrible, horrible, horrific fucking combat. Maybe the worst kind of combat you can actually see as a human being was probably like a World War I era situation. And the Treaty of Versailles, like, just basically stripped Germany of everything that was Germany, and it was a rallying cry to the German people, basically, for World War II and the rise of the Nazi Party and like all that kind of stuff. So point number 15 makes a lot of sense. Point 16, we should applaud those who attempt to build where the market has failed to act. The culture almost snickers at Musk's interest in grand narrative, as if billionaires ought to simply stay in their lane of enriching themselves. Any curiosity or genuine interest in the value of what he has created is essentially dismissed, or perhaps lurks from beneath the thinly veiled scorn. I think that's kind of just basically speaking to individual entrepreneurship. We should value
Right.
individual entrepreneurship. That's kind of what that sounds like to me.
And I do wish fucking billionaires would stay in their lane. Just coming from somebody who starts a fucking company, like the brick and mortar rags to riches story is dead in America. You
Oh yeah,
you become
it's totally
unless you're in a trades where you're a builder and you have the ability to move real estate, like that's really the only way that you're gonna make more than $200,000 a year. You know, like the small business brick and mortar thing's done. And then Peter Thiel also talks about like capitalism is great if you eliminate monopolies. And Peter Thiel is openly talks about how you win capitalism is by monopolizing your whatever you're in, whatever sector you're in, you win by monopolizing it. And when people say like America is like capitalism is great, like we have a monopoly in every major industry in this country, whether it's medicine, whether it's automotive, whether it's oil. You could go through every major industry in this country, and there's three of them who control the whole industry. There's three major companies who control, and they're all owned by BlackRock and fucking like Vanguard, you know, as far as like it's fucking wild, dude. And that's where like um if you like real capitalism, like this isn't real capitalism. This
yeah.
is making the
Planned
money for the
economy.
rich, and they
They're a
want to
plan.
get these they've talked like they've had meetings where they're talking about giving us fucking allowances. Like how would this work when we don't have jobs?
National
We have
income.
all this money. Yeah, like giving us allowances, but when they could search all our data, collect all our stuff, they have the button to not give us our allowance. So you better be a
Sure.
good American, you know? Like, and that's where, I don't know. And people think it's not going to happen, but I thought a lot of things weren't going to happen, but have happened in the last fucking 8 years, you know?
I come to
So,
find out, dude. And if we talk about if we get maybe we'll push it off to the next episode, but if we get to that insider trading shit with this war and the Trump administration and like people that are making trades like 30 seconds before shit's getting put out when it comes to war, oil, energy, infrastructure, the Strait of Hormuz, record-breaking profits. It's unbelievable fucking profits. It's so corrupt. It's so terribly, horribly fucking corrupt. And if you voted for Trump, like, you can't support this. You can't fucking support that kind of personal enrichment based on lives lost. Like, not
yeah,
just Iranian lives lost, but American lives lost. And I firmly believe that we've lost more than 13 fucking people. You know what I mean? And the
yeah,
fact that this family can just enrich itself and the cronies can just enrich itself and we're just going to be okay with that. It's like the Epstein stuff. It's like we've gotten to the point where we kind of understand that even if he didn't fuck little kids, he at the very least was an accomplice. And if you're an accomplice to stuff like that, you end up in prison for basically just as long as the people that fucking did it. Unless you're actually part of the class itself, which is what all these people are. And that's why vets that are protesting the Iran war are getting arrested while these motherfuckers aren't even getting investigated. Forget about getting arrested. They're not even being investigated at all. You know what I mean? You got some vet in a fucking wheelchair who's 45 years old protesting the Iran war, and they fucking arrest him and put him in jail. And another guy in a cane and some other old ladies and some other stuff, and they arrested all of them. Fucking awful. All right, 17. Silicon Valley must play a role in addressing violent crime. Many politicians across the United States have essentially shrugged when it comes to violent crime, abandoning any serious effort to address the problem or take on any risk with their constituencies or donors is coming up with solutions and experiments in what should be a desperate bid to save lives. Some of they put a lot of fluff in some of this stuff. They make shit harder to understand than it fucking needs to be. But okay.
Because if they were trying to say what they really wanted to say, no one would go for it, dude. I mean, they're talking about pre-crime stuff. Like, they're going way down the rabbit hole of, like, essentially a computer saying, like, looks like you're going to commit a crime, we're going to arrest you before it happens, because they believe that much in their software.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. All right. 18. The ruthless exposure of the private lives of public figures drives far too much talent away from government service.
Fuck you.
Right?
Fuck you.
Put a little bow on that, just that sentence right there. We can kind of push that to the side because we know what that means. The public arena and the shadow and petty assaults against those who dare to do something other than enrich themselves. Oh, I didn't realize the public figures weren't fucking enriching themselves. Has become so unforgiving that the Republic is left with a significant roster of ineffectual, empty vessels whose ambition one would forgive if there were any genuine belief structure lurking within. Again, a lot of fluff, okay? But really what it comes down to is the first sentence. The ruthless exposure of the private lives of public figures drives far too much talent away from government service. Again, fuck you.
Yeah,
Man.
You could pay for private fucking security, keep your mouth shut and stay in your fucking lane and make your fucking billions. Like, I have no sympathy for fucking any of that shit, dude.
If you're a public service, your fucking entire life should be on the table. You're a public servant.
Yep.
That's the whole fucking point. That's when we talk about this insider trading that we're probably not going to get into. Like this whole thing with the Trump administration, with all this last 45 days of unbelievable record-breaking profits for people that have been trading based on the exact stuff that Trump is saying, like on a Friday, right? Right before the markets close, like on a weekend, and then people put in their fucking shit 5 minutes before, and like nobody else has any idea what's going to happen, and these people are making billions and billions and billions of dollars like no shit. You know, it's like, yeah, your entire life should be on the fucking table, bro, because you're representing the Republic, and this Republic is supposed to be open. It's supposed to be, what do we talk about? The battlefield of ideas. This Republic is supposed to be open. You don't get to be a fucking king and hide. That's not what we were built on. You don't fucking get to do that shit. All right, 19. The caution of public life that we unwittingly encourage is corrosive. Those who say nothing wrong often say nothing much at all. Number 20, the persuasive intolerance of religious belief in certain circles must be resisted. The elite's intolerance of religious belief is perhaps one of the most telling signs that its political projection constitutes a less open intellectual movement than many within it would claim. Basically saying there needs to be more religious tolerance. I guess I would have to agree with that since I'm a big fan of the First Amendment. Number 21, some cultures have produced vital advances. Others remain dysfunctional and regressive. All cultures are now equal. Criticism and value judgments are forbidden. Yet this new dogma glosses over the fact that certain cultures and indeed subcultures have produced wonders. Others have proven middling, and worse, regressive and harmful. So some cultures are worth advancing and staying around, and some aren't. It's kind of how it seems. Probably talking about Iran.
Yeah,
But we
exactly
also
who
found
they're
out that
talking about.
Iran is a 6,000-year-old culture that is wildly literate and educated. Number 22. This is it, Joel. We must resist the shallow temptation of a vacant and hollow pluralism. We in America, and more broadly the West, have for the past half century resisted defining natural cultures in the name of inclusivity. But inclusion into what? I'll tell you, there's some interesting points. I don't know. Like some of them I wildly disagree with. Some of them I guess I kind of agree with, and some of them are just completely out to lunch.
I'm with it. Like the one where they're talking about like there's one thing that, and this is one of the reasons I stand up for immigrants, especially the ones who are going out and working and playing into the system, is like I live in Denver. If I'm going out to drink somewhere, like I fucking Uber. And I would say 80% of the time you get an immigrant driver and you talk to the driver, and I want to know their story. I'm a little buzzed normally, so I'm chatty. And most of them came from their country and they have an opportunity to work here and have a job. And they are so much more grateful than any fucking American here. And that's one of those things where like, yeah, there's some fucking real shitty immigrants here, but like that job's open for anybody, and they come here and they're more proud about the American dream because they have a chance, you know, and that's the whole thing. The immigrants are only taking jobs that Americans think they're too good for, and that's the bottom fucking line. And it's also like in capitalism, the reason some of these people are hiring immigrants because they get like tax credits and stuff to like have an immigrant on their payroll. So like the capitalist society is producing capitalism wants the cheapest and easiest way to produce something. How are you going to do that on the back of American labor force who wants to get paid fairly and have health care, or back on of immigrants who don't give a fuck about that because there's going to be 4 or 5 of them living in a 2-bedroom house and they're going to be really happy about it because it's so much better from what they came from. You're going to do it on the and that's where capitalism, because you want the cheapest and fastest way to make something, like it eats itself. It's cannibalizing, because the people at the bottom are the ones who get fucked.
Yeah. Plus, we're not doing an Adam Smith model of capitalism
No,
economics.
we're not. It's
We're running a Keynesian model that's built around debt and credit. You know what I mean? Like the more debt you can get and the more credit you put on people, the more think of like if your credit score is like 500 or 550 or whatever, you're completely fucked. Like think about what the government can do to you,
right.
stuff like that. Think
Yeah.
about like a prosecution case. Like I used to see this in law enforcement where they would intentionally bankrupt people that they knew had enough money to defend themselves, and they would basically confiscate all their wealth. And they'd be like, "Go hire a lawyer." Well, you can't hire a lawyer? Well,
That trickles down into patents, like when me and Aaron were patent things for our company, there's a lot of argument of like a patent is just a reason for someone to take you to court. And once you're to court
yep,
and say like we're going to fight Remington or something over something we designed, they're going to and this isn't an attack on Remington, this is just an example. They would bankrupt us in court until we had to give up, and
yep,
that's what capitalism, like our form of capitalism, does. Is like our form of capitalism is to sell out to the $1 billion company, not become the $1 billion company. And
yeah,
therefore they own a
yeah.
monopoly
Go
over
for it.
everything. Yeah.
Because the government picks the winners and losers, and that's
Yeah.
another reason why this is not a pure form of capitalism. I mean, it's a planned economy based on projected winners and losers because of stuff like this. And we're not going to really get into it, but I want to give a couple examples, Joel, just really quick, dude, because some of this stuff is so fucking blatantly terrible. So like airstrikes, February 27th, Hours before the initial U.S.-Israeli strikes, approximately 150 accounts bet that the strike would occur the next day. They made a shit ton of money. How did they know that? How did they know that occurred, that we were going to make the strikes on Iran the next day? Another one. One user turned $87,000 into well over $500,000 overnight by betting on the removal of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khomeini just 71 minutes, bro. 71 minutes before his assassination. 71 minutes before his assassination. Pretty good bet there. The ceasefire bet. Traders placed $950 million in bets the oil prices would drop just before President Trump announced the ceasefire. So they bet the oil prices would drop, not knowing, supposedly, that there was going to be a ceasefire announced. Why would you bet on that? Oh, and it happened, and they made a fucking killing. Significant volume spikes have occurred in traditional future markets minutes before major presidential announcements on True Social. 18 minutes before Trump posted about a total resolution. Trading volume on the S&P tracked fund jumped from hundreds of contracts per minute to over 10,000 per minute. One trader bet $2 million and reportedly netted $20 million in profit.
Yep, that's bullshit, dude.
Meanwhile, we're paying $5.30 a gallon for fucking diesel and $4.10 a gallon for gas to go work out at the fucking gym.
Man, I think he's tanking the economy like intentionally and letting his cronies make money off it. Because that's I mean, the first day on the market when he announced the ceasefire, apparently there was like $120 million in trades made, like profit from like 3 different I don't know, just outrageous numbers where it's gross, dude.
It's so
Like that
terrible,
money's
man.
not going back into America.
It's so terrible, dude. On March 9th, oil prices plunged 25% following a Trump interview. However, a surge of bets on falling prices, and the prices fell by 25%, hit the market 47 minutes before the interview went public, Joel. 47 minutes before the interview went public, and oil prices plunged by 25% immediately after the interview. All of these assholes were putting bets that the oil prices were going to plunge. 47 minutes. 47 minutes before his interview. Yeah. Hey, man, you want to go suck off Trump? Have at it. Like, do your thing. Support him. Do it.
And then too, just since
Yeah.
we're bitching about Trump, so there's a bunch of national forest shit going down the pipeline. Like in Minnesota, the headwaters to their biggest river, we just sold it to a foreign copper mine. So we sell it to another country. It'd be one thing if at least you're making money for our own country. I still probably wouldn't agree with it, but we sell it to a foreign country and now they're making money off of our national forest, or what was national forest.
Oh, yeah. I was talking to a U.S. Forest Service special agent the other day, and she had some pretty interesting insight on a lot of stuff when it came to the forest, because the Forest Service in a lot of ways has been targeted a lot by Trump. But Forest Service, LE&I, law enforcement investigations, is stovepipe, totally separate from the regular Department of Agriculture, U.S. Forest Service like pipeline when it comes to funding and enforcement policies. And so they don't really get affected the same way that the regular Forest Service or Department of Agriculture does. But what she basically told me was that officer discretion is paramount in law enforcement. It's wildly important. It gives you the ability to act individually as you are investigating a crime, or, you know, doing a crisis intervention situation, or whatever it is that you're doing, to basically, you know, fall back on your training and experience and do what you think individually is best for this situation to come out and have some kind of positive outcome. And officer discretion is super important in U.S. law enforcement. Very important. It's preached in the state academies. It's preached in the federal academy down at FLETC. And she basically told me in a lot of ways that officer discretion's gone. They've taken it away from them. And on top of that, like elites are being on purpose not investigated. She brought that up too. She said that she was talking about a fire investigation she had to do, and the motherfucker that did it is a real big wig, apparently is a real big wig, like donor, kind of a donor person in a pretty red state.
Yep.
And she was given specific instructions from her command to not fucking pursue the case. How is that? That's not equal protection under the law. Because if it was me or you, homie, we'd be in fucking jail and we'd have $1 million in restitution for a fire, for a wildland fire. And this guy wasn't even given a goddamn Class B misdemeanor ticket. Wasn't even given
And
a
has the
Class
money
B misdemeanor ticket, which is the same thing as a fucking speeding ticket. And he didn't even get that.
and has the money to pay for any fine that would be issued to it, where some asshole who's
we get $1 million in restitution. We would spend the rest of our life paying the federal government. Once we got out of prison, Joel, once we got out of prison, we would spend the rest of our life on a payment plan every month, paying the federal government like fucking whatever it is you could afford, $200 a month, $50 a month, $7 a month, whatever it is they'll put you on, depending on your income. That will change as your income gets better. If your income gets better, you're going to end up paying more until that $1 million is up. But it's like, you think we would get that fucking treatment? You think you would get that treatment? Fuck no.
If you're riding your dirt bike, didn't have a spark arrestor on, shooting a tracer, whatever it is, you know, and that happens to you, you're going to get fucked, you know. That happened to some rich guy, and that's just, if you're rich in this country, you don't apply, the same rules don't apply to you. You know, it used to be if you touched a kid or something like that, there was like lines we had in the sand, but now it's just, it doesn't matter. If you have enough money to get bought out, or buy somebody out, you will.
Yeah.
They're on a different level, boss, man.
You're 100% right, brother. You got anything else? We're going to call this sucker. Hour and 40 minutes in. I think we should call it.
Let's call it.
Let's call it, bro. We're going to do another one. If you're out there and you're wondering, we're going to do another one. Probably Thursday night. We'll put it out Friday or Saturday morning. We'll see. So love you, bro. Good work.
Love you. Take these, man. Have a good evening.